You might have seen there's some good news out of Harvard that they're not going to give in to the government's demands that they're withholding $9 billion of federal funding over. For the record, Harvard leadership didn't do this on their own. They did it because there was a lot of pressure from alumni, faculty, and the Harvard community at large. They should get recognition for doing this because we see universities like Columbia University folding and allowing students to get deported. Now, these demands included elimination of DEI programs, making significant changes to hiring practices, and instituting a widespread mask ban. Not explicitly stated, but probably because they are targeting protesters and wanting to identify protesters easier. Now, the demands are made under the guise of combating anti-Semitism, which has been reiterated is absolutely important to combat. And President Garber himself says, although some of the demands outlined by the government are aimed at combating anti-Semitism, the majority represent direct governmental regulation of the intellectual conditions at Harvard. In one alumni letter to Harvard, it said that charges of anti-Semitism should not be used as a pretext for illegal and unconstitutional governmental pressure on academic institutions. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while because as an alum, a couple of weeks ago, we all got this email from President Garber, the president of Harvard University, which was a nebulous letter that basically described that $9 billion, which is used for research, was being withheld. The way it was phrased made a lot of us panic that Harvard was going to give in. Universities are currently on the front lines when it comes to pushing back on this sort of federal bullying. We even saw Barack Obama recently saying that universities should be able to use their endowments, which should give them cushion and the ability to say, actually, no, we're not going to give in to your demands. Experts are saying it's a governmental overreach, and that was cited in a new letter that President Garber sent out today. Universities can choose to protect or facilitate the deportation and interrogation of their students. Mahmoud Khalil wrote in his letter to Columbia from ICE detention that Columbia had laid the groundwork for his abduction, and that regardless of your stance on Palestine, eventually they'll find a way to target students based on other causes. So it's good news to see that Harvard is pushing back and using its levers of money and power this time. In some ways, I feel like the government might just be testing the waters of where they can push. Harvard is like the big whale. If the government could take down Harvard and actually win with this threat, who knows what would happen if Harvard gave in. Lastly, it's worth noting that there's plenty of fair criticism against Harvard. Last year, they prevented a group of students who were part of the pro-Palestine protests from graduating with their peers. And recently, they let go a couple of faculty from their Middle Eastern Studies department. I think the takeaway is that change does not happen, especially institutional change doesn't happen on its own. It happens because thousands of people come together and every little thing that you can do is useful. This good news that we saw from Harvard today may not have happened without hundreds, thousands of people speaking up.